This story is about someone that we all know. I mean, you don't know the person in this story, okay? But we all know someone like this person in this story. We all know someone like Sean. Sean was a good guy. He was a great fella, right? He knew the best jokes. He knew some of the best songs. Some of them were quite bawdy, to be honest. And he was just a good person to be around. He always made you feel great and happy and would make you laugh. But if you ever needed help, then no. Well, no. I got to go and see my mother. I have to go and see my mother. I'll see you tomorrow. And off he'd go. Oh, Sean, could you give us a hand? We're going to be... Oh, no, I have to go to the shops and get some food for my mum. Well, Sean, could you... No, not right now. I'm busy. Later on, I'll see you. He was never able to help people. Or he made it seem that he was never able to help people. He just didn't like to work. There are people like that, right? Well, the haying season was on. And the whole village was going to get together and everybody would help with each other's fields. Because it's hard work to hay. Nowadays we have these combine harvesters. They cut the hay, they push it through a machine, they bundle it all up and then they spit it back out on the truck that's following them. But in these long ago days, people would have these scythes, these big long sticks with the curved blades on them, and they'd walk along cutting in nice straight lines, and somebody would follow them and they'd roll up the grass because they'd have to fall in the same direction if you were good at it, and they would roll up the grass and they would tie it, and then somebody else would come along behind them with a pitchfork and they would take that bundle of hay and throw it up onto the wagon. It was hard work, and so the whole village got involved except for Sean. He went to the other side of the village, far away from those fields that were being cut, and he started making his way down the road. Big stone wall on the side, forest. And he's skipping and jumping his way down this lane, and he's thinking, what a beautiful day. It's a gorgeous day. It's the best day in the world. The only thing that could make this day better would be if this princess came down in a carriage and stopped and said, well, will you marry me? You're such a fine-looking young man. And Sean thought to himself, and then I'd never have to work again. Again, I've never worked a day in my life. But no princess came down the road, but he did hear this sound, this tapping sound. And he thought to himself, maybe it's a squirrel breaking up open a nut, or a bird breaking open a nut, and I'd like to see that. And so he quietly crept along the stone wall until he came to where he thought the sound was on the other side. And as carefully and quietly as possible, he peered over, and you know what he saw? It wasn't a bird, it wasn't a squirrel, it was one of the wee folk. It was a little leprechaun. And the leprechaun had one of his boots off, and tap, 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 tap. He was mending a shoe. Sean couldn't believe it. He came back down. It's a leprechaun. Where there's a leprechaun, there's gold. And then I'll never have to work again. I've never worked anyway. But he knew if he could get that leprechaun, he could get the gold, and then he'd be rich, and then he'd never have to work ever. So, as quiet as a mouse, as quiet as a ninja mouse, he crept over the wall, leapt down and grabbed the wee gentleman. Well, hello, said Sean. Well, hello, said the wee man. And how are you doing? Well, I was doing a lot better until you came along. Well, that's not a very nice thing to say. And Sean started to have a conversation with this little man, as good a conversation as he could, for the wee gent was not going to say very much at all, until Sean lost his patience. Now, listen, you have a pot of gold, and I've got you in my power, and I need you to tell me where it is. All right, then. And the leprechaun started to give Sean these directions. Down the road a little bit until there's a break in the wall, and then go into the forest for about 500 yards. You'll see a small pathway that leads off to the right. Follow the right, and then it's going to curve around to the left, and then you get to another. And the instructions went on and on and on. And Sean knew that he would never remember all of these directions. So, well, I'll never remember those things. You have to take me there. Put me down then. I'll not put you down. If I put you down, then you'll vanish. All right then. This way. And the man led Sean on this route, and Sean tried to remember it, thinking all the time, I've got to take it this way, and this way, and then there's down here, and then there's, I remember that stone wall there, and there's that weird looking tree right there that looks like, well, never mind what it looks like, but I'll remember that. And on they went until they came to this field that opened up, and there was this ragwort everywhere. It's in the middle of this field. Well, this is a big field now, where's the middle? It's over there. You'll take me there. No, right then. And so the wee gent led him to the middle of the field. And he says, it's beneath this plant right here. Well, this one looks very similar to all the other ones. How far down is it? It's about 4 feet down, and it's going to be hard digging with your hands. And you don't have a shovel. That's true enough. All right, you need to promise me 3 things. No, right then. What are those 3 things? Sean had an idea. He took off his scarf and he tied it around that particular ragwort plant. And it's underneath this, right? Yes, it is. Now you have to promise me that you'll not take that scarf from that ragwort plant. All right. I'll not take the scarf off the ragwort plant. Now, you also need to promise not to move that ragwort plant from this particular spot. All right. I promise not to take the plant away from the spot. And you have to promise not to remove the pot of gold or the gold within the pot from underneath this plant. Oh, right then, I promise to do that as well. Now put me down. And Sean put the wee man down, and sure enough, as Sean imagined, the little man vanished. Sean, remembering where he'd come from, ran all the way back home. He got a long-handled shovel and made his way all the way back. And when he got back to that field, his mouth fell open, his eyes grew wide. He was pretty sure that the wee gent had not removed the scarf from the ragwort plant. And he was pretty sure that the wee man had not moved the ragwort plant and put it somewhere else. And he was pretty sure that the wee gent hadn't removed that pot of gold or its contents from where it lay. But he was dead sure that the wee gent had made scarves exactly like his own and put them on every single ragwort plant. Now Sean knew he wasn't going to dig up the whole field, but he knew a good thing when he saw one. And it was a long-handled shovel after all. And so he took all of those red scarves that covered that ragwort field, took them on that shovel, took them back home, and he started to work for the first day of his life. He opened up Sean's Red Scarf Shop. If you want a red scarf, Sean's the man to go to. And I believe he lived happily ever after. The end.